Alright, we're going to be looking at measures. Basically, we're going to be talking about methods for corporate companies to grow. So measures and acquisitions are complex and they involve many parties. And then the issues which are involved in measures and acquisitions include corporate governance, form of payment, legal issues, contractual issues, regulatory approval. So these are all the issues which are involved in measures and acquisitions. So they are very complex. So a merger can be through consolidation or acquisition. Consolidation is when two entities merge to form one new, bigger entity. Alright, so we're saying if there are two firms, A, B, C, and X, Y, Z. So if they consolidate, they become one new company, okay? Maybe they call that company A, B, C. And an acquisition involves one company acquiring another but keeps its original name. Okay, so a company is acquiring another company, but that company keeps its original name. So we're going to talk about parties to an acquisition. So the target company or the target is the company being acquired. The acquiring company or the acquirer is the company acquiring the target. Also, measures can be classified based on endorsement of parties management. So in a hostile takeover, the target company's board of directors object the takeover. They are not in agreement to the takeover. So this is called a hostile takeover. And then a friendly transaction is when the target company's board of directors endorses the merger or the acquisition offer. Okay, so there is a hostile takeover where the target company are not in agreement, and then there is a friendly where the directors of the target company they actually endorse the takeover or the acquisition. And then we move on to horizontal measures, vertical measures, or conglomerate measures. So a horizontal measure is companies in the same line of business, often competitors. Okay, so it's when two, let's say, grocery stores, they merge and form one company. Okay. So these are companies in the same line of business. This is called a horizontal measure. And then a vertical measure, these are companies in the same line of production. Okay, when they measure and then they form one company. This is called a vertical measure. For example, a supplier and a customer. And then we have, we have conglomerate measure. So in a conglomerate measure, this is when companies in unrelated lines of business, okay, they are not in the same line of business, they are not in the same line of production. When they come together and form one company, okay, that is what we call a conglomerate measure. So we want to talk about motives for measures. Why? What could be the motivations for measures? Why do companies decide to form measures? Okay, so it might be for creating value. Okay, maybe the company seeks to grow, and then it realizes that to grow it has to form a measure. Maybe it wants more market power. It wants a bigger market share, so it can form a measure, maybe to acquire unique capabilities or resources. Okay, maybe the company it wants to acquire has got unique resources which it cannot find but can only find through what? A measure. And then cross-border measures. The motives could be maybe to follow clients, maybe technology transfer, maybe to benefit from technology in other countries which are not yet available in the country in which they are doing their operations. Okay, maybe to overcome adverse government policies. And then there are also like dubious motives. Maybe for tax considerations, maybe you want to reduce your taxes, maybe just the incentives of what? Of the managers, their own personal incentives. And then the motives can also be motivated by the industry's life cycle. Okay. So a measure can also be in part influenced by the industry stage in its life cycle. Factors include maybe need for new capital, maybe need for resources, maybe the degree of competition. Okay, maybe the competition is too much. The firm cannot withstand the competition, then it decides to what? To acquire another firm or to merge with another firm. Maybe for growth opportunities, maybe opportunities for synergy. Okay, so here we're going to be talking about the different life cycle stages, and then the description of the industry, the motives for the measure, and then the types of measures which are likely to occur in that stage of the life cycle. Okay. So we start by the first stage, which is the pioneering development. Okay, so under the pioneering development, the industry is still developing. Okay, so it has lots of development costs, and then the sales are very low. They're still very low, and there's still very low growth in sales. But it's increasing. The industry is developing. The sales are still low, but they are growing. Alright, so the motives for measure for such a life cycle stage may be young and smaller companies may sell themselves to larger companies in mature or declining industries and look for ways to enter into new growth industry. Or young companies may look to merge with companies that allow them to pool management and capital resources. Alright, so these measures can be horizontal or can be conglomerate. We move on to the industry life cycle stage of rapid accelerating growth. Okay? So when it's rapid accelerating growth, the industry exhibits high profit margins caused by few participants in the market. The market is growing at a fast rate, and then there are few participants in the market. The motives for measures may be explosive growth in sales, may require large capital requirements to expand existing capacity. Okay? We said at this stage, the industry is growing at a high rate, and then the sales demand, they are very high. So a company might enter into a measure, maybe to get capital, to expand its capacity, to increase its capacity to match the growth in in sales. Also, the type of measures here include conglomerate and horizontal. And then we move on to mature growth. Under mature growth, the industry experiences a drop in the entry of new competitors, but growth potential remains. So measures may be undertaken to achieve economies of scale, savings, and operational efficiencies. Okay, so we are saying the entry of new competitors is now low, but then there's still potential of growth in that stage of the life cycle. So what happens is that companies may merge so that maybe they can take benefit or gain advantages from use of economies of scale and savings and operational efficiencies. So they may use horizontal and vertical measures. So we move on to stabilization and market maturity. So here, the industry is now at maturity. It has stabilized. It is now matured. So industry faces increasing competition and capacity constraints because it has matured. There's now more and more competition. It keeps on increasing. So measures may be undertaken to achieve economies of scale in research, production, marketing, to match the low cost and price performance of other companies. Okay, since there is so much competition, the firms in this industry, they seek now to reduce their costs. Okay, they seek to reduce their costs, and they also seek to provide like high quality goods which might be costly. So they might undertake into measures so that they can be able to meet these needs at a lower cost. And then also large companies may acquire smaller companies to improve management and provide a broader financial base. And then we move on to deceleration of growth and decline. Alright, industry faces overcapacity and eroding profit margins. There are now too many players in that market, too many players. Okay, and then the profits, they are now declining. So motives for measures, horizontal measures may be undertaken to ensure survival. Okay, they now seek to survive in this industry, so they might get involved in horizontal measures. Then vertical measures may be carried out to increase efficiency and profit margins. Companies in related industries may mesh to exploit synergies, and companies in this industry may acquire companies in young industries. So basically, the types of measures which are in this life cycle stage, which is the deceleration of growth, include horizontal, vertical, and conglomerates. And then we move on to form of acquisition. Alright, so acquisition might be a stock purchase. The acquirer provides cash, stock, or a combination of cash and stock in exchange for the stock of the target firm. Okay, so here you're buying shares of that firm. You can buy through cash, or you can offer cash and stock. And then we can move, the second form of acquisition is an asset purchase. So under an asset purchase, the acquirer buys the assets of the target firm, paying the target firm directly. Alright, so here the acquirer, it buys the assets of that firm, paying directly for the assets, unlike in a stock purchase where you're purchasing stock maybe through cash or a combination of stock and cash. And then methods of payment, you can all pay through cash. Cash offering may be cash from existing acquirers' balances or from a debt issue. Alright, maybe the acquirer might use cash from their bank, or they might issue debt to fund the cash. And then securities offering, target shareholders receive shares of common stock, preferred stock, or debt of the acquirer. The exchange ratio determines the number of securities received in exchange for a share of target stock. The factors influencing the method of payment might include the capital structure of the acquiring firm. Okay, so the acquiring firm decides how it is going to pay for the company depending on its capital structure. How highly geared is it? How highly levered is it? And then it makes a decision on how to acquire, how to pay for acquiring the firm. And also the share of risk among the acquirer and the target shareholders, or it might also be a way of signaling by the acquiring firm. So we're going to talk about mindset of managers. So under a friendly merger, an offer is made through the target's board of directors. Alright, so the firm which seeks to acquire another firm, it approaches the target management, and then they enter into discussions, they perform their due diligence, they enter into a merger agreement, and then shareholders and regulators then approve. But then for a hostile merger, offer is made directly to the target shareholders. Okay, so they do not do like discussions. They do not approach management. They go directly to the shareholders. All right, so the firms might not like the takeover, so they might come up with defenses. Okay, either maybe to prevent the transaction from happening, or maybe to increase the offer. Maybe they want to get more, so they might come up with their own defenses. So pre-offer mechanisms, maybe they might change the control to make the target less attractive. Maybe if the reason behind is that maybe if it appears less attractive, then the acquirers might not be interested in the firm. And then the post-offer mechanism tends to address ownership of shares and reduce the hostile acquirer's power gained from its ownership interest in the target. Alright, so when they are doing this takeover defensive after the offer has been made already, this is mainly to address issues of ownership of shares, maybe to reduce the powers from the acquirers and so forth. And then move on to effects of price and payment methods. So the more confidence in the realization of synergies, the greater chance that the acquiring firm will pay cash. And then the more the target company shareholders will prefer stock. The greater the use of stock in a deal, the greater the burden of risk borne by the target shareholders, and the greater the potential benefits accrue to the target shareholders. The greater the confidence of the acquiring firm managers in estimating the value of the target, the more likely the acquiring firm is to offer cash. Okay, so if the acquiring firm has more confidence in realizing gains from this measure, it is more likely to pay in cash. And if they are more sure, or if they have more confidence in estimating the value of the target company, they're most likely going to pay the offer in cash. Then we're going to look at who benefits from mergers. So mergers create value for the target company shareholders in the short run. Alright, so in the short run, the target company shareholders are the one who are going to get value, we're going to get cash, we're going to get stock. Acquirers, they tend to overpay in major bids. The transfer of wealth is from acquirer to the target company shareholders. Acquirers tend to underperform in the long run. They are unable to fully capture any synergies or other benefits from the merger. So in the long run, the acquirers, they do not get as much value or as much synergies as they had predicted going into the merger. So reasons why mergers fail, maybe because the acquirer paid too much premium. Maybe when they did their evaluations, they were faulty, they overvalued, maybe lack of research, they didn't do enough research before they did their merger or their acquisitions. And then also, there's also failure to manage post merger integration. Mergers that create value. So mergers which create value is when the buyer is strong, when the premiums paid are relatively low, and then when the number of bidders are low. So when the number of bidders are low, which means that the price is also low, so the premiums paid will be low as well. And also, mergers create value when the initial market research to the news is favorable. Alright. So in summary, an acquisition is the purchase of some portion of one company by another, whereas a merger represents the absorption of one company by another company. Okay, there are a number of motives for mergers or acquisitions. Some reasons they're justified and some they're just dubious. Alright, and also there are horizontal mergers which occur among peer companies engaged in the same kind of business. This is called horizontal mergers. Mostly if these companies are competitors and if they absorb each other and form one company, this is called a horizontal merger. And then vertical merger is companies in a given value chain. Okay, maybe these are companies in the value chain, in the same value chain. And then we move on to conglomerates. These are companies in totally unrelated businesses when they form an acquisition or when they form a merger. They're not in the same line of business, they're not in the value chain. So these are what we call conglomerates.